Good morning, PTI Nice Daily Show. Happy Monday morning. Happy Labor Day. Hope you all are off to a slower start than you're used to on a Monday morning with this holiday morning. My name is Alan. I'll be your host today, COO of ICE, faculty member in our fitness athlete division. Coming at you on Monday for Q&A Monday. Got a couple questions I'm going to tackle. Before we get started really quickly, if you're not signed up for Hump Day Hustling yet, our weekly newsletter, get signed up for that, ptinice.com. Click the Hump Day Hustling tab. Every Wednesday morning, we send you a couple articles, a couple social media posts that the faculty have put together that we think you should take a look at. This week, some good articles looking at performance across masters athlete age 35 all the way to 97 in runners. Looking at a lot of cool data there, and then looking at the effects of probiotic supplementation on gut health and in kind of systemic inflammation. So just a couple other articles that are going to be coming your way this coming Wednesday morning. And then don't forget, if you're not signed up for Virtual ICE yet, if maybe you're not ready to jump into a live course or an online course, you can get signed up for Virtual ICE, our online mentorship program. $29 a month, cancel anytime. If you stick in it for a full year, you will get 24 CEUs. We talk about a wide variety of topics, 52 sessions every year on Tuesday night. Just some of the topics coming up. Getting started with out-of-network practice with Sarah. That's actually tomorrow night session. Modern swelling management, performing artist management, running 101, strength and conditioning, graphic design and marketing for the PT from Alexis Morgan. I'm looking forward to that one coming up in a couple weeks. And then yours truly taking a look at heart rate variability coming up about a month from tomorrow. So just an idea of the broad range of topics we try to bring you on Virtual ICE. So if that interests you, go to ptnice.com and check that out. Let's jump into your questions. So we got 3 questions this week. The first one we'll take is from Colin. Colin Rust asks, what does an anti-pain or an anti-persistent pain life look like? And I would almost immediately change that question completely and just go by saying that looks like a complete change in mindset, right? We need to develop a fundamental understanding both as practitioners and with our patients that the complete avoidance of pain is impossible. And it's the reason why our country is in such terrible shape as far as our kind of overall health and healthcare system goes, right? The idea that we need to be 100% pain-free 100% of the time just kind of reflects an overall lack of resilience, both physical and mental, and of coping mechanisms and different resources to utilize when we are experiencing pain. So kind of the mindset for a long time has been, I have pain, I need to get that pain fixed right now. I don't want to be in any pain. It doesn't matter. 1 out of 10 pain, 10 out of 10 pain, get rid of my pain. I'll go to the urgent care and get a pill or a shot. I'll go see my physician. I'll go consult with a surgeon. I will go do a bazillion different things to eliminate my pain right now. I wake up, I have pain, I want pain gone immediately. And we need to step back and help these folks understand that when they are experiencing pain, they need to ask themselves a series of questions. What is this pain? Where is it? Can I endure it? Do I think it will fade on its own? Have I experienced something like this in the past? And we'll touch on that very important point more in a second. Have I experienced something like this in the past? Do I have resources available to me to address it right now? Do I know some exercises, some stretches, some different things in the past that I have done that helped alleviate a similar pain? If so, can I do those right now and try to address that pain? Do I have strategies to calm that pain down? Do I have active movement? Am I in tune with my diet, my sleep, my stress? Am I aware that it may be something else? And there's kind of this understanding that hurt doesn't equal harm, which we've talked about on here a lot. But am I actually hurt? Did I do something that could have hurt it, right? Did I do something yesterday to my back that would have made me wake up in pain today? If the answer is no, then I need to get to the point to understand that it means that I probably haven't damaged my back, right? Nothing while you're laying flat on the back is causing incredible damage to your back, your spine, when you're asleep, right? So that doesn't make sense. So have I experienced something like this before? Do I have tools to address it? And that's kind of the start, the foundation of an anti-pain lifestyle is just comparing pain to previous experiences and not trying to live this 100% anti-pain lifestyle. And understanding that pain, especially low-grade pain, is more of an alarm or an alert that something is happening in the body, and it doesn't necessarily mean the body's damaged, but something needs to change, something needs to happen, like a mismatch between your body and your brain. If you're sitting at your desk for 2 hours, you've not caused any tissue damage to your back. And if you start to develop a little bit of pain after 2 hours, that's more of an alert to your body that you need to change position. You need to get up and walk. You need to get up and stretch, right? We know sitting at your desk for 2 hours has not torn the ligaments or tendons in your back, right? That doesn't make any sense. Your back pain from sitting too long or standing too long or laying too long is more of an alert to just change position. And instead of trying to go get that pain addressed right away, or even just sitting and being in pain, developing those resources to address that pain, different stretches, exercises, whatever, to address that pain in the moment, and just understand that it's saying, hey, change something. Okay, I know different things that I can do to change this pain. And also to incorporate stuff besides just movement, right? Things like, hey, did I have a lot of alcohol last night? Did I have a really kind of unhealthy processed meal last night? Could that be why I have pain today? Could that be why my pain that I normally have that's barely noticeable is now higher and more irritating today? And so we need to get people to get to the point in a recognition that lifestyle has more to do with pain than we ever thought possible before, right? We are biological machines. We have to move regularly. Being inactive is just not part of our DNA, literally not part of our DNA. Eating processed food, eating a lot of carbohydrate, eating a lot of processed food, drinking a lot of alcohol, sleeping very little are just not things that we have evolved to be accustomed to, right? And those are all little rocks in a jar that can build up and place us in a state of pain or kind of irritation more often than we want. Again, hitting on that acceptance that pain is unavoidable, and so is just kind of general discomfort as being alive, being a human being. We're rugged creatures. We evolved fighting for survival all day, every day, from birth to death, right? So we need to get people to a state where they recognize that their lifestyle, not fight to the death every day, but their lifestyle should reflect that, right? They should be seeking out discomfort to kind of build this library of experiences to reflect upon when they do have those painful moments. So we should be exercising hard. We should be eating real fresh food. We should be sleeping when the sun is down. We should not be drinking a six-pack of 15% IPAs every night, right? That's not stuff our bodies have been developed to do, and it makes sense that if any of those are out of tune, then we can be irritated, we can have pain. And so getting people to a point that they understand that like taking care of their body is the best anti-pain they can have, right? That's how your body will best function. And on our end, what we can do is help them get stronger, right? The physically stronger you are, the less these little things throughout your day, throughout your life, bug you. The more you move, the better you'll feel. The more you move, the better you manage your diet, your stress, your nutrition, your sleep, the less that load that builds throughout the day with stress or poor sleep, or maybe you do have to, you're on the road on a road trip and you do have to grab some fast food. That will not be stuff that sets you off anymore. So if we can just kind of remove those rocks from the jar, we'll find that our body functions the best. We'll find that, especially as we get stronger and more resilient, those little aches and pains that we used to experience kind of just fade away. Another big key here with kind of like helping patients incorporate this is just understand that it takes time, right? Transformation takes time. It's not a quick path. There's no shortcuts. You got to find your alarm clock. You got to find ways to make the time in your day to move and to maybe meal prep and to get a little bit more sleep. To maybe stretch at night to help your stress, like whatever will get it done for you. And just kind of remember that Rome wasn't built in a day. And so it didn't fall on a day either, right? So all the little things that built up over time that got us to the point we're at now where we're having a lot of pain, we can't expect those to be wiped out in a day with one technique, with one shot, with one pill, right? That's completely unrealistic, and helping patients understand that it's going to take some time to come away from that, but that the more time they put in getting stronger, eating better, sleeping better, the harder it will be to break them back down. Once we start to build them up, it becomes that much harder to break them down, and they'll become more resilient overall. And reinforcing, it doesn't matter where you're at in the process on the continuum, it's never too late to get started. Like whether you're 22 or 82, we can make it happen. It might look different, but the functional outcome will be the same. We can help an 84-year-old get rid of her walker and reduce her back pain just like we can an 18-year-old, right? So it will take some time, but it's never too late to get started. On our end, accepting as PTs that if we are practicing what we preach, we also are talking from a place of experience that will better help us understand our patients, and even more so have their trust in us because they know that we're practicing what we preach, right? I think of, I just had an evaluation Friday with a gal who complained of kind of chronic neck pain, chronic headache, described cervicogenic headache pattern, and like that used to be me, right? Before I started CrossFit, I used to have to get my neck manipulated by Mitch like every week because I had terrible neck pain, I couldn't check my blind spot, I had terrible headache, cervicogenic headache. And once I started to really take care of my diet and get stronger, I can't remember the last time I had neck pain or headache, a year, 15 months. And kind of being able to relate to this gal, like, hey, I was where you were at, living an unhealthy lifestyle, not moving, high stress work environment, just kind of high stress life. Like, I get it. And here are the things that have worked for me. You know, you're not going to say, like, you have to do this. It worked for me. It's going to work for you. But, like, I know where you're coming from. Here are some things that we can hit on today that are going to make you feel better. And coming from that place of experience, I'm confident that we ourselves have the experience of dealing with pain, and it hasn't, ruined our life, and we're not the person getting pills or getting arthroscopic surgery for our own pain, and that we're smoking our own dope, as we say here at ICE. So that's a big part of it as well. And then just realizing, like, as you start on this path of a healthy lifestyle, of this kind of anti-pain lifestyle, every now and again you'll have a little bump, a little setback, but that small ache or pain is a very small price to pay for all the other benefits that you have. I was sat down on the bike the other day next to a gym member to warm up, and she was talking about a little bit of wrist pain, and she said, yeah, it's kind of bugging me, and I've had to scale some stuff in the workouts the past couple days, but she goes, it's a really small price to pay to not need to take blood pressure medication and diabetes medication and be on oxygen and all these other things that happen when we live an unhealthy lifestyle. Having a little bit of a 2 or 3 out of 10 wrist pain with extension is a really small price to pay. And she's kind of bought into the fact that she knows she has different resources to help her pain, and she knows it's a small price to pay to not have to deal with all that other stuff. So I hope that helps, Colin. Jeff and I rapped about your question a lot, and we both agreed that was kind of the approach to take with it. So good question. Thanks. That was from Colin. Let's jump into question number 2, and I'm realizing now that this is probably going to be a longer episode than we're used to. Want to make sure we take more than one question at a time and be able to be really thorough with the answers too. So question 2, Brian Chapman asks, what are some good books and literature to get up to speed on what's going on with a low-carb, high-fat diet? Good question. So this was the primary focus of the CrossFit Health Conference about a month ago in Madison, was just talking about kind of the literature. Where is this, like, why attack on fat? Why is fat bad? Where does this kind of trend and mindset of we need to be low fat, we need to be worried about cholesterol, we need to be worried about saturated fats, where does that come from in the literature? Is it supported? The short answer is no, it's not supported by the literature. The literature behind high-fat diets causing heart attacks, high cholesterol being associated with heart attacks, is all terrible. The literature supporting the use of statins, many of you know this already, is also terrible. So let's dig into that. The first book I would recommend is The Cholesterol Myths, written way back in 2000 by a physician, a European physician named Uffe Ravenskoff. And since then he has published some more books. He is one of the leaders in the world at looking at the association between fat and heart attacks and fat and kind of overall mortality risk, and just finding again and again and again that the association is simply not there when we really dig into the research, and that a lot of the previous literature is just terrible, low-powered, biased, just not supported too well. So I'll try and summarize a couple articles that I think are hitting it very well, and I'll post all these in the comments as well. So kind of the idea behind a low-carb, high-fat diet is that when we talk about why we are against fat in kind of mainstream medical, especially here in the States, mainstream medical and healthcare system, is that way back in the day, they used to do autopsies on folks who had died of a heart attack and looking at the plaque that had built up in their heart and biopsying that plaque and finding that it was high in LDL. So there begins the association that LDL is the bad cholesterol. There's your air quotes for the day. LDL is bad cholesterol. It's in your heart when you have a heart attack, and therefore too much of it causes heart attacks. And kind of that's where the trend went for a long period of time, into the 70s, into the 80s. But if we actually look at what LDL is, if we jump back to our biochemistry and our organic chemistry and look at what LDL is, it's not bad. It's one of the essential fats in our body. If we look at the different types of lipoproteins, we have ultra low density, very low density, intermediate density, low density, and high density. And so we're not going to talk about any of those, but LDL, and what does LDL do in the body? It helps upregulate the gene expression for our immune response to the staph infection, basically, Staphylococcus aureus, which is a very common opportunistic pathogen. So we're all familiar with staph infections on the skin, but it can also be inside of our body, inside of our blood vessels. And so what we now know in 2019 about LDL is that LDL is released in response to staph infection being inside of the blood vessels, which is why we find LDL in the heart of a very unhealthy person who had a heart attack. LDL is actually there to try and fight that infection, carrying the cholesterol that the body needs to fight that infection. And so we know that LDL is kind of relatively harmless unless it builds up and gets oxidized by free radicals inside the walls of that blood vessel, which again, that just kind of correlates to the overall importance of a healthy lifestyle like we just discussed in question 1. So if we're moving regularly and moving that circulation and pumping our heart regularly, LDL won't sit in our blood vessels and be oxidized and cause damage. It will come in, fight those infections, and leave. So there's the association with LDL and good versus bad cholesterol and fats. When we test for LDL, when you go and get your blood tested, we know that test is not an actually objective quantification of the amount of LDL in your body at all. It's just an estimate of how much cholesterol is being transported by LDL. So LDL counts on a blood test are not very accurate as far as the association that we make with our overall heart health. It's more of just an estimate of how much cholesterol has been transported, and that's it. So the idea that having low LDL and high HDL is what we want to achieve is not evidence-based and not actually what is happening on a biochemical level. And so that leads us into statins, with people being put on statin to reduce their LDL, reduce their overall cholesterol, and this theory that will then correlate to a reduced risk of a heart attack or stroke. We know that the overwhelming majority of people who are on a statin don't need to be on one. They're not that effective. We know the association between cholesterol and LDL and heart health is not there. The stronger association is active lifestyle, healthy diet, not total cholesterol level, not LDL level. If you've had a family member or a patient on statin, you know the side effects are awful. So terrible side effects, way worse sometimes than having high cholesterol. and then that they're founded on really poor research. A lot of the research has been ripped apart on like Lipitor, very low powered studies, looking at a study of like 9 people and saying these people were on Lipitor. 8 people did not have a heart attack. 1 person did. Therefore, Lipitor reduces your risk of heart attack by 88%. That's not true, and you can't make that claim from such a low-powered study either, right? So, if we looked at the actual literature supporting the use of Lipitor, we would say, 1% of people on placebo had or 1% risk reduction being on placebo pill versus 2% on Lipitor. So really, when it shakes out, not a very strong drug because the association is so weak there between LDL and heart function and total cholesterol and heart function. So that's a little bit about LDL and cholesterol and where this comes from and why high fat is not bad. So let's dig into like what is fat. The only use your body has for glucose, for sugar, is for energy, to restore basically muscle glycogen in working muscle. If you aren't working your muscle very much, it's getting converted to fat. If you're eating too much, even if you are an active person, it's still getting converted to fat. Your body has no other use for it, right? So I always explain this to patients. Glucose is jet fuel and fat is diesel fuel, right? Glucose is that quick hit before you're going to do something very active, something after you've been very active to restore what you've burned. But that all-day energy, that energy when you're sitting at your computer, when you're doing the laundry, when you're doing stuff in the other 23 hours of the day, that energy is coming from fat. That energy is coming from ketones, which is the working energy unit from fat. And so we're utilizing fat, primarily ketones, for the rest of the day for our energy, right? We're not actively utilizing skeletal muscle sitting at a computer or sitting in a meeting or anything like that. When we look at the research behind low carb, high fat, it's nothing short of fascinating. The more I dig into it, the more I'm amazed that this isn't more well known. So we can talk about the use of a low carb, high fat diet in a number of different ways. We can talk about it in regards of cancer. So cancer is a metabolic disease. A lot of research showing that cancer cells proliferate with excess glucose, and they are unable to use ketone bodies, so they're unable to oxidize fat and use it as energy. Great papers, Seyfried 2010 and 2014. Again, I'll post all this research I'm going to talk about. Just looking at the effects of a low-carb, high-fat diet on metastatic cancer. Some good papers by Poff and colleagues, POFF. A paper from 2013 finding some of these studies are in mice, so keep that in mind, but some of them are in humans. A 2013 paper finding almost an 80% decrease in metastatic cancer in mice when combining a ketogenic diet. So ketogenic diet, less than 50 grams of carbs a day. Rest of your calories from protein and fat. 77.9% survival rate when combining a ketogenic diet with hyperbaric oxygen. In this study found a 56.7% increase in survival rate with just ketogenic diet alone. So combining the two things in this study, oxygen therapy with keto, more effective, but still compared to eating a high-carb diet, still 56.7% increase, which is great. Another paper a couple years later by Poff looking at what if we supplement ketone bodies, exogenous ketone supplementation, what happens? We find kind of the whole basis of this line of research that cancer cells are unable to utilize these ketone bodies. So if we flush the body with ketones and watch what happens with the cancer cells, they're not able to metabolize that fat, those ketone bodies, and they can't replicate. They can't become metastatic. So really cool stuff looking at the effects of a low-carb, high-fat diet on cancer. And kind of the conclusion in this line of research that's been emerging, especially in the past couple of years, is that cancer is a metabolic disease. We kind of we've beaten around the bush at that in the research for a while, but now starting to understand the mechanism and how we can combat it. And that if we put people on a low carb, high fat diet, even if they already have cancer, significantly increases their survival rate. So I'll post those papers. Really cool stuff with keto, again, low carb, under 50 grams of carb a day, and diabetes, both type 1 and type 2. So for the longest time, we know we need to get people, as we say, off the carbs, off the couch with type 2 diabetes, get them using their muscle more, eating less sugar, clean up the lack of insulin response there, and that type 2 diabetes will kind of fade away. But for the longest time, we've thought, well, that won't happen with type 1 because it's a genetic disease. They simply can't make the insulin. They'll always need that exogenous insulin. And now we're finding a really cool, a lot of it is case study. There's a Facebook group of over like 3,000 type 1 diabetics who are all hardcore keto, less than 50 grams a day of carbs, high fat, high protein, and finding that they're able to come off their pump, which is something, 20 years ago, people would have said you're insane. But these folks are off their pump, they're off their insulin shots, they are managing their type 1 diabetes through diet alone, which is incredible. And obviously there you get rid of that risk of that pump messing up. A lot of type 1 diabetics with the pump have a horror story or 5 of the pump messing up, and they end up in the emergency room with ketoacidosis, and that risk goes away. Yeah, you might not be able to have a birthday cake again, but versus a diabetic coma, risk versus reward there, these folks are finding that benefit is worth it. So some really cool stuff with managing diabetes with low carb, high fat, looking at some neurological disorders, looking at ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and then traumatic brain injuries, same thing, finding low carb, high fat. ALS has a recommendation, it's called the Diana protocol, basically elevating your fat intake, your tricarboxylic acid intake, which is basically just taking extra virgin coconut oil supplementation. Some cool studies by Zhao and colleagues finding that these folks who supplement with this extra virgin coconut oil and who follow a ketogenic diet see a reduction in muscle twitching and cramping, improvements in coordination and balance and overall neurological performance and survival rate. Some cool studies on mice and humans by Airy and colleagues as well, looking at the effects of fat supplementation, low carb, high fat diet, and taking some extra fat supplements with ALS. And the same thing being found in folks recovering from traumatic brain injury. Busi and Gross in 2013 found improvements in neurological performance, quality of life, and overall neurological performance in folks who had chronic symptoms from traumatic brain injury. So we're seeing when it comes to neurology, neurological stuff, we know neurons, we know neural sheaths are all fat, so it makes sense that if we can get some extra fat in the system, take away excess carbohydrate, which we know is damaging to nerves and neurons, that we see not a complete reversal, right? We're not curing ALS with this diet, but we can increase survival rate tremendously, reduce symptoms a lot, improve overall quality of life, which is kind of what we're all about. Finally, I'll share a little bit of research on the performance aspect of low carb, high fat. A paper that just came out the other day that came across my desk, looking at firefighters, comparing them on this test they take where they run a mile and a half and do a bunch of pull-ups. Half the study had a carbohydrate restricted diet, so less than 25% of their overall calories came from carbs. The other group just ate their normal thing, finding that those who were on the low carb, high fat diet had reduced body fat. They had a reduction of 5 millimeters of mercury on their systolic blood pressure after 4 weeks, and overall performed exactly the same as the folks that ate normally. So no reduction in kind of sport work-specific performance from a low-carb, high-fat diet after 4 weeks of eating that diet. They reduced their mile-and-a-half run time and increased their pull-ups by 3, just like the standard diet group. So kind of that myth that you need carbs, you need to be a carbivore for high performance is shaking out to not be true when we look at the literature. And so all that to say, to have all this in your arsenal to talk about with patients. Again, just like question one, lifestyle management, lifestyle management, lifestyle management. If we're talking about reducing your A1C and your blood glucose, then maybe we are thinking low carb, high fat. If we're working with patients with neurological disease, maybe we're thinking low carb, high fat. If we're working with patients with cancer, maybe we're thinking low carb, high fat. A lot of the evidence is trending that way. So have that in your toolbox when patients ask you, hey, what's up with a low carb, high fat diet? CrossFit recommends that as the base of their training pyramid is nutrition, and within that is keep carb intake to a minimum, eat meat, vegetables, nuts and seeds, little fruit, some starch, and no sugar, right? So sugar there is refined carbohydrate. So have that in your toolbox. And I like that these two questions are building on question 3, so I know we're way beyond 15 minutes now, but it's a holiday, so maybe you all have time to answer or listen to this. So let's answer question 3. This came in not really as a formal question, and I want to respect the person that asked it and not be antagonistic about it, but still address it because I think it's an important point to address. So question 3, if kind of some of our treatment plans look a lot like maybe CrossFit or kind of exercise in general, we're doing deadlifts and maybe we're doing bike intervals. If that's what our treatment plan looks like, then how do we differentiate ourselves from personal trainers? How can we make sure that we maintain marketability of ourselves and that people shouldn't just go see a personal trainer because it's cheaper? So in this era of exercise-focused treatment, how do we stand out? And just like the answer to Colin's question from question 1, it's a mindset change. This question, how do I stay marketable? How do I make sure people see me as a PT is like an ego thing. That question is really, what do I think about how people see me versus having the mindset, having that servant mindset of I will do anything, I will become anyone that my patient needs to be able to help them, right? And so we have to adapt this mindset that we have to be chameleons, right? I'm whoever you need to be when you come to see me for physical therapy. I'm prepared to do anything, most things. I'm prepared to do almost anything, and I'm prepared to talk about whatever you want to talk about in order to help you reach your goals. Whether you want to reduce pain, whether you want to get moving, whether you want to stop falling, whether you want to get rid of your walker. I don't care what your goal is. Your goal is your goal. I am here to help you. I can be whoever you need me to be. I can be your acupuncturist. I can be your chiropractor. I can be your psychologist. I can be your sleep coach. I can be your nutrition coach. I can be your life coach. I can be your massage therapist. I can be your exercise physiologist. I can be your personal trainer. I have no ego about what I need to do or what you call me. I don't care if you call me your trainer. I don't care if you call me your coach. I don't care. I don't need you to call me doctor. I don't even need you to know that I'm a physical therapist or what that means. I have no ego about that. I always think of this quote from movie The Departed, which you haven't watched it. Fantastic movie. Please go watch it. Mark Wahlberg's character getting yelled at. The guy says, "Hey, who are you?" And Mark Wahlberg turns around and he goes, "Who am I? I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy." And there's some F words in there too, which makes it all the more Mark Wahlberg-y. But I'm the person who gets the job done any way possible. I don't care how that gets done. What do you want to work on is usually part of my evaluation. Like, if you're coming in with pain or not, I don't care. Like, what do you want to work on? We see some gym members who don't have pain. They want to get stronger shoulders. They want to get better at handstand walking. That's all stuff that's within my wheelhouse, right? What do you want to work on? I will become and do what I need to do to get you there. So we need to have this extreme ownership of the patient's plan of care and not allow ourselves to be tied to any particular approach. Jeff talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, we can't allow our bias to guide treatment. My bias is towards exercise, right? Exercise has changed my life. I have seen exercise change a lot of other people's lives. That's my bias. But I also understand if somebody wants to dim the lights and have me scrape their calves and they talk about what a rough week they've had for 30 minutes. At the end of the day, if I do what I think will help you accept active movement and get me towards my bias, then I will do it, right? I'll talk about anything, I'll do anything to get you there. And I think we need to adapt that mindset that it's not about us. It's not about how we differentiate ourselves. And if we're comparing ourselves to personal trainers, I think I think answering question 1 and 2 has demonstrated the difference there, right? Your average personal trainer cannot talk about what we just talked about. Cannot talk about complete lifestyle change with sleep and heart rate variability and low fat, high carb, and knowing the biochemistry about it. Like, we as physical therapists are the most uniquely qualified people to help our patients change their life, and we are on such a different level, and sometimes I don't think we recognize that. I am not worried about being compared to a personal trainer. Do my last few visits look like personal training? Yeah, but that's because I'm not working a patient towards discharge and cutting them loose. I am working a patient towards a transition, and we need to have that mindset as well, that we're not just cutting people loose. If you're still just cutting people loose, hey, 3 times a week for 4 weeks, see you later, Frank, have a good life, see you in 6 months when you're back for the same stuff because I didn't get the job done the first time. Like, that mindset has to go. And there are people like me who are trying to outcompete people like that. So keep that in mind. We need to be working people towards a transition. If our last few visits look like personal training, fine. Like, what a better time in the plan of care in a patient's life. Maybe they have never been active in their life before, and now they're in the clinic with you doing deadlifts and bike sprints. They are never more prepared to flip that switch and have their whole entire life changed than that point. Don't blow it because you are worried that they think you are a personal trainer and not a learned doctor, right? So don't blow that point in that plan of care because you can't swallow your own ego, right? Adapt and pivot, become whoever you need to. In this day and age, people are more ready than ever that they know it's lifestyle, right? They know pills and surgery are probably not it, right? Everybody has a brother-in-law who had their knee scoped and didn't get better. People have a cousin who got hooked on Oxy because of back pain. They've maybe had a cortisone injection which didn't do anything, right? They are more understanding than ever of what will help them get better and stay better, and that's active movement and understanding how their body works and how to take care of it and how to manage their body themselves. And so don't blow that point in the plan of care because you don't want to be seen as a personal trainer just doing exercise in the clinic or the gym with these folks. Don't blow that, right? I can't think of a bigger compliment than the other day, last visit with a patient, testing his loaded lumbar flexion and loaded lumbar extension a lot of different ways. Had him build to 1 rep max deadlift, and then had him do some high intensity exercise with some rowing, some dumbbell devil's press, so burpee all the way to the floor, dumbbell snatch all the way overhead, lots of loaded flexion, lots of loaded extension, and then some sandbag cleans and carries. We had a newer member at the gym who we were in the corner of the gym during class, and she thought we were doing the class workout, and so she came over and said, "Hey, where are the sandbags?" And I said, "No, you're not. You're not doing this workout. You're doing that one over there with the rest of the class. This is actually physical therapy." And so, what a compliment to have physical therapy confused for regular exercise that a quote unquote normal person would do. Having gym members ask what I just had that person do because that looks like a workout they could do at home on Sunday and it looks like fun. Like, when is the last time that somebody said, "Wow, that physical therapy routine over there, it looks like fun. I want to do that at home," right? Nobody is begging to do shoulder external rotation and long arc quads. So get out of the mindset that we might be confused with personal trainers, and that physical therapy can and should be different than what most people are used to. That means we're doing it right. If you're doing something different, if you're encountering some resistance, you're probably doing the right thing. So we have to still be skilled manual therapists, still be psychologically informed and be able to talk about pain and sleep, diet and nutrition, but we do have to be fitness forward and population health oriented, and that if we're truly going to change the entire health landscape of our country, then it's getting people moving and transitioning them to a gym, to a running club, to CrossFit, to triathlons, like whatever they like to do that they'll do a couple times a week and understand how to better manage their nutrition, sleep, and stress, then fine. I will do that. I will be that person to get them there. And so it's not about us, right? It's not about what you call me or what you think I am. It's about the results that I give you so that you go on to have a happy, healthy life, and that, if you join the CrossFit gym I'm at, then I'll see you. But if not, I hope to never see you again, right? I hope you go and continue moving and have a happy, healthy lifestyle. And that as part of that, I helped you transition and find a thing that you will now do for the rest of your life to stay healthy and live a long, happy life and get to your goals. So I hope that helps answer that question and about if we should be concerned or not that we're doing too much exercise, right? So we see that pendulum shift now. Before it was manual therapy is stupid, exercise only, and now we're seeing in just a couple years the pendulum swing back. Oh, we're doing too much exercise. We need to do other stuff to demonstrate our value. No, the patient with the results you show them determines the value. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they might think you are or your job title or anything like that. It's about them, not us. So keep that in mind. So that was super long. I feel like I should charge you all for all that, but on this holiday Monday, hopefully you have some extra minutes to listen to the whole thing. Hope you all have a great holiday. Hope you have a great Monday, a nice short week. If you're going to be in Minneapolis this coming weekend for Modern Managing the Older Adult Live, I will see you there going as a student, which is going to be fun. Otherwise, have a great holiday, great short week. See you all next time.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.